Today on the show, Radical Ones, it's episode 100 with the start of Sword and Sorcery Summer 1985's Legend. And I am joined by both David and Rob for this special milestone. It's time to get radical. Hello there. It's showtime.
What is this, trick or treat?
Did I do that?
Good morning, Charlie.
Sailor Moon, the champion of justice.
Daddy would have gotten us Uzis.
The power is yours.
Get down, honey, get down.
And look, I won't go far, okay? If the apocalypse comes, beat me.
My name is Grace Jones.
Thunder, 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 thundercats.
Power of 3 will set us free. Power of 3 will set us free. Power of 3 will set us free.
But I ain't one to gossip, so if anyone asks you, you ain't heard it from me. No, you have?
No more room in hell. The dead walk here.
Welcome, Radical Ones. Welcome back, Radical Ones. Welcome back, Radical Ones. Welcome, Radical Ones. Greetings, Radical Ones. Welcome, Radical Ones. Radical Ones. Welcome, Radical Ones. Welcome, creatures of the night. Or Radical Ones. Welcome, Radical Ones. Hey, Radical Ones. Hey, Radical Ones. Welcome back, Radical Ones. Welcome back, Radical Ones. Welcome back, Radical Ones. Welcome back, Radical Ones. Hey, Radical Ones. Welcome back, Radical Ones. Welcome back, Radical Ones. Welcome back, Radical Ones, to the Radical Retro Rewind podcast. As always, I am your host, Radical Ryan Hunter, and today I am joined by both of my beautiful co-hosts for our 100th episode of the podcast. We have everyone's favorite brother, David, and Rob, the movie geek himself, here today. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Happy 100th. We should say that this is the 100th movie review episode.
True.
As you've done so many Thundercats. We've hit 100 a long time ago. You've been recording everything. But yeah, our 100th full movie review episode is here. So I'm excited.
With Thundercats, we're probably like 146, 150. But September 22nd of 2022, it began with Rob and terrible audio from Ryan, where I sounded like I was underwater being electrocuted. Here we are, though, 100 episodes later. What happened? Why are we here?
And that's the thing, though. Like, even with terrible audio, he posted it. Show must go on. I will be heard, is what he said. And we didn't quit. That's so, I mean, we easily could have just wrapped this up. We don't sound good like everybody else. We're done. But we kept going. So, yes, love it.
Oh, that's such beautifully said. That's, it's funny because in preparation for this episode, I went back to try to collect little voice samples to do like a montage. Can I tell you those early episodes are giving me so much cringe just because of the audio quality? Like, what we're saying is fine. God, if we could remaster things like George Lucas and just like remaster the first 10 episodes somehow.
We have AI now, so I mean, I'm sure it's possible.
We were just talking about that.
Yeah.
We could have anyone redo these episodes then.
But I told Ryan that it would not work because people would know it's not him because the AI would pronounce things properly and correctly.
Oh, yes, they would.
It wouldn't sound like him.
Have you guys tried that at all yet? Have you dabbled at all in AI?
How do you do it? I want to make songs. I want Shannon Doherty to sing.
Well, just even the animated, like, photos of yourself, like, how it all started. You guys have never tried any of that yet?
I never. No. I mean, I tried, like...
Scares me. I think it could destroy people's lives. You take one person that you hate and make them say something god-awful that everyone will turn to, and they'll believe it because they want to.
Oh, these diss tracks out here? with like Britney singing Christina songs and Mariah singing
Yes!
Whitney songs. Like they are out for blood with AI. They should. This is blasphemy. They should not be doing these combos. They are so rude.
No.
And now, isn't this such a product of the time? Because, like you're saying, anyone can make a song. You could say, this is Britney Spears, but...
They're probably doing it now. They probably killed her already, and they're just going to... Anything they put out from now on is going to be AI.
Well, yeah, that is another conversation because I have so many other things I could say and that I've been witnessing how people they're tying it to parenting. Like, it's gone to that point of like, yeah, Ryan has a face. Real quick. So this parent was on and he was talking about how somebody can use my voice and tell my kid to meet me out front.
Oh my God.
And be like, I am going to meet you here. Come in. What are they going to do? They could just be like, no, Dad, I need a code or something like that. Well, I had codes when I was a kid. If you want to talk retro, I had codes when I was a kid.
You would
you would have to say a certain word if I was told that you were supposed to pick me up. Like, what is the word? What did my parents give you? And it was the most ridiculous, dumb, weird word that I've ever used, but it was a word, and I never had to use it because I don't put myself in those situations. But like, we had a code. That's how we separated, because even family can be evil. So I'm just like, we had code. But that's the thing. It's like these voice modulators, like they can use them for anything. Like, people will think of ways to cause chaos. So it comes down to that. It's not just the entertainment industry. Like, everything is up there. So,
well, thank God my children don't listen to me anyway. So what? I have to go outside. It's hot outside. I'm not going to do that.
Hi, Radical Ones. Cadu Luongo here. I can't believe we are celebrating 100 episodes. Congratulations, Ryan. The show is an extension of you. Colorful, bright, and very entertaining. Well, I'm also here to share my favorite moments. Having a message from Lindsay Price was such a special surprise. I love her Lipstick Jungle episode so much, and Lindsay made it extra special. And another crazy moment was the reception of our Charlie's Angels episode, especially on YouTube. I'm still trying to understand those numbers. Well, thank you again for having me on the show. In fact, I have my sword ready because I'm coming back this summer. See you soon. Bye bye.
In preparation for the 100th, we reached out to the Radical Ones on Instagram. Again, if you're not following us on Instagram, you're missing out on so much. I am always on that thing. I don't even have a personal Instagram anymore. It's there. I don't associate with it because I am trying to make Radical such a thing.
I tried to tag you on Twitter, and he was not having it. He was like, he doesn't get tagged in photos on Twitter. Go somewhere else with that. Yeah, your personal thing is gone.
We actually got a bunch of comments. And these are listeners and people that have definitely popped up on our journey over the years on Instagram. So I am so happy to actually hear from these people on the 100th. It reminds me that you're there. You're there for us. This is Anytime Artwork 82. They are a great account on Instagram for art, always supporting us, always just boosting us up. And he just gave us claps and accolades with emojis. So thank you so much. Words of the Witches podcast says, congrats, how exciting, all the memories of the good old days, and let's talk shop in the next 100. Hi, Kevin. Alucard 225. Hello, Alucard. He says, congrats, my friend. Here's to 1,000 more. Thank you so much for that.
Awesome.
New Lines, Austin, and Dougie says, hope you can talk about the Austin Powers and Dr. Evil trilogy soon.
Yeah,
very
baby.
90s.
It's borderline, but you guys have hit movies that surpassed Goldmember. So I think the Austin Powers series is definitely something we can do.
I mean, so. And that actually, maybe we could do it as a 3 weeks in a row kind of thing, like one episode, 2 episodes.
I thought you were going to say threesome.
And then we get It's a Mario says, happy 100th episodes. What a milestone. That was our comments. Of course, thank you so much for them.
So much.
Thank you.
the questions begin. Dun 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 dun. Let's see. So we got one from longtime friend and Radical One, Cadu, that was also similar to Blue Rose Lucia. Lucia is also always supporting us. Thank you so much, Lucia. She actually asked, what are your top favorite 3 episodes you've recorded so far? Also, happy 100th episode. But Cadu asked top 5. So between the two of you gentlemen, if you how many you could think of off the top of your head, or whatever, if there's ones that you really enjoy.
You first.
Me first? Okay. So I do have 5. They're not in any order. I will say, because I've brought this up before, Double Double was seriously, and I still to this day, if I pick an episode to re-listen to, it is Double Double Toil. That recap was so much fun. And it's still, to me, one of the top nostalgic projects that I've rewatched and covered on this show. It just gives me the best memories ever. And you and I feel, were really good on that.
And it was
recap.
Early on, too.
It was so early. It was our 3rd episode, and I had so much fun recapping that movie and just rewatching it. We had a great time. With that being said, real quick, Mannequin on the Move was so much fun. That was so much fun. Our on-screen crush episode, I thought, was a treat.
Yes, that no one ever talks about. I don't know if anyone's ever listened.
I remember, Ryan. I remember.
Good. Me too.
That is a very fun one. And these other 2 round up, it's just sort of me being able to analyze and just see it with adult lenses and just giving heavy perspective on movies that really probably doesn't need that much attention. But Blank Man and Uncle Buck, I feel, for me, hit a very high milestone of just self-awareness and just a way to just see a movie beyond its comedic style. Like, there was so much deep-rooted stuff in there that for me helped me as a kid. Even though I never saw Uncle Buck until now, but just watching John Candy do his thing and the fact that he's not here, I appreciate that man so much more after seeing this movie. So those 2, amazing. And the wild card, the heavy wild card, I'll throw this out because it just popped in my head, is The Crush.
I was waiting for you to say that. That was actually on my list, Crush.
And Crush is only because Ryan and I watched the movie together before reviewing it. I wish we would do more of those, but that is a great highlight I had on this show. So those are my episodes.
And we went directly from the viewing to recording, and that is why actually it is on my list as well, The Crush. And not only that, we laughed so hard, just even that stunt double Alicia Silverstone clip at the end where it's a man, David, in a wig. And you could tell as soon as you did it. So yes, I have to echo Crush. But David?
Okay. When we had our trio, Nothing But Trouble.
Oh yes, Nothing But Trouble was fun.
I was so happy to know that Rob, I knew you liked it, Ryan, but Rob really liked the movie too, and it was just a lot of fun. It brought back a lot of memories, and that's also a John Candy movie, which I have a lot of admiration and love for him. So that definitely is on top of the list. Gem, because it was our first one.
Gem is my favorite of the 2 of you.
That's the one I want to remaster. I want to remaster those early ones.
I wrote you an Apple review based on that episode. I told people, please listen to their Gem. It was so informative. I just you guys did so good on that episode. So
thank you.
I'm glad it's one of your favorites.
Yeah, it was something for me. It was something new and exciting, and I really tried to pour that love for it into it. Bodyguard, I just liked the fact that I love me Whitney, rest in peace, and I just thought it was just because Siskel and Ebert didn't like it, and you know my thing against those 2, God rest their souls. I liked our claymation Rudolph because that brought back memories, but it also brought back mean Santa Claus.
Yeah, he was a nasty
oh god,
man.
There's so many. Those are what I can think of. I liked Beautician and the Beast because it was the extension of the nanny, and I just liked the funniness of it. I'd have to say Nothing But Trouble and Gem are on the top for me.
Great choices. Love that.
So I love all these choices. I love all the memories. Crush, like I said, was one of those. The Star Wars holiday special, it was our 50th episode. I don't know, that whole movie still is just flabbergasts me. And I just the stuff that happened in it and just the way the Star Wars episode. Josie and the Pussycats, which is really recent for us.
Wow.
The flow on that episode was just real, and it was really nostalgic. I think Rob and I, with that time period of the late 90s, early 2000s kind of period.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying that he was really impressed with it. He really liked it. He really liked doing it with you, and he was actually surprised at the movie.
Oh yeah.
Filming. So nice. I guess he was judging it by the cartoon from way back.
I had a completely different idea of that movie in my head, and I mean, we get into it. Like, I didn't think it was as risque. Dawn of the Dead, just because 78, just because it is my favorite movie. Captain Planet was great recently.
Oh, really?
Cadu, because just having the writer, like, who did the series Bible, actually do a message for us, just flabbergasted me, and like, wow. Like, and that's one of those things that make me think, like, well, maybe we are making something here, you know?
Yeah.
Of course, Cadu, thank you for reaching out to this man. And then honestly, Grease 2, just because it was supposed to be greasing. Well, the coiffed hair. Yes, I called Michael. What? Oh my god, I can't even think of his name. And he liked that video clip. Caulfield, thank you. And he liked the coiffed clip too on Instagram. I was mortified. So those movies, and I just have to say, we can't go by without saying Fairuza Balk.
Can you imagine if I wish I had the time and effort to collect all of his mess ups? Like, I'm still thinking about the Hannibal Lecter chair.
Going mannequin! That was another, like you said, that was another great one. The mannequin.
Like, just always messing me up on, like, not knowing words.
Gurneys.
Yes. Listen, we all make mistakes, but sometimes Kevin and I start saying the words wrong.
Yeah.
You know what?
We can gang up on you now. See, this is the co-host gang up.
Yeah.
The Fairuza Balk thing, I feel like was such an early thing, and then, I don't know, I guess it was heading somewhere, but if any Radical Ones remember that was like our first running joke, because I couldn't say anything, so... That was that. Just really quickly, our next question is from Cadu again. He says, your favorite slasher from the 90s besides Scream? I'm just going to say really quickly, it's I Know What You Did Last Summer.
I knew you were going to say that. And, and here's the thing. If that is your favorite, that is your favorite. You should definitely, say, be honest. What I got from Cadu with this question is that he didn't want us to pick the obvious, right?
Scream, right?
Which yes, I think that if it's not Scream, it's I Know What You Did Last Summer. And I look, those are two great movies. Even if he had not said Scream, that is not my favorite. Ooh. I was actually very surprised with how many of my favorites were in the 90s. This is why it's my favorite decade ever. This is actually really hard to choose because
Urban Legend, you're gonna like.
I know, right? Oh my god. So here's the thing: my favorite scary movie of all time, Candyman. That's 92. So and David, you and I both know Candyman is legit. Like that, but here's the thing: I don't watch that movie as much as some of these other choices that I have, and that's why it's so hard for me to say, because favorite does not mean best. Candyman is the best, but my favorite, like the ones that I just keep watching: Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Halloween H2O and Brain Scan. I freaking love all three of these movies so much, and I've watched them at least twice in the last year, and like I love them. But Candyman, favorite. There you go. I'll leave that.
You just made me think of, it's true, Freddy and Jason are considered slashers, and Michael Myers is a slasher too.
Yeah, but I didn't want to go with the obvious. But again, these are the ones that I go to. I love them, but Candyman is just amazing.
I love that because it's so broad. Again, it shows the broad spectrum here. David, do you have?
I actually agree with everything Rob said, and I was thinking Candyman. And it's not the obvious choice, but there's more. It's a slasher, but there's a lot more about that movie than just gratuitous slashing. There's meaning behind it. So for me, that's why I like it so much. So
yeah.
And then our last two questions come from Jim's Retro Emporium, our UK friend, who, by the way, is starting a YouTube channel. So I hope that goes so well for you, Jim. You're always supporting us. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I actually promised him I would say, in my thick accent, chocolate sauce. So that's for
coffee?
you.
Can you say coffee?
Coffee, water, chocolate, and sauce. Jim asked if you could have any celeb guest appear on the show, who would you choose? That was his first question, which I absolutely love. And then the second was what made us start the podcast in the first place. So, celeb guest.
I don't know. Honestly, I can't. I mean, there's so many people. There's so many. I really, honestly, I'm going blank on this because there's.
You're like, I will take anybody.
No, the thing is that there's so many people. There's so many different aspects. I mean, there's writers for shows that I would love to just pick their brain, but they're not, in the forefront. Nobody even knows who they look like. And there's people that are stars that are, so it's really hard to say.
Stars in only our eyes.
Well, no, like when we had Patricia Tallman on, that was a great experience. I thought she was lovely.
Wonderful.
I thought she was very gracious to come on the show. So I mean, and there was meaning behind her some of the characters and the stuff that she does with Penny Lane. So I really can't. I don't know. Honestly, I would probably.
You're open. I'll
say Marilyn Monroe.
Okay. Okay.
No, I'm only kidding. I have no idea.
We'll get her right on it. Rob.
Honestly, this is a very hard question. I'm going to offend so many people because I did not pick them. And of course, I can't just answer just the question, right? Like I have to have a thing. I'm gonna make this quick. So for the theme of our podcast and keeping it retro, the first person that I thought of was Reginald VelJohnson, because it would just be a dream to dive into the show that made me who I am. Honestly, Family Matters is everything to me, and
that's beautiful.
To be able to interview the biggest dad ever in that decade, I would love to meet him. But what I did write down as far as just the general question, I want to interview the director of Clue, which is Jonathan Lynn.
Oh, your favorite movie, yeah.
Or, Leslie Ann Warren, Miss Scarlet. One of those two would be an absolute dream. I also said Viola Davis because I would just learn so much from her. But ultimately, this is my top choice. And it's so unconventional, but it's Andrew Garfield.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Well, do I blame you for that?
For obvious reasons, but the man is he just vibrates energy, joy, and happiness. And he is never really presented with a question that makes him flustered, or he is just so happy with anything that's thrown at him. If you see him on the red carpet, when he interviews everyone, he's flirtatious.
He'll kiss them.
He's just playful. Even when he's answering thirst tweets, he is just loving every minute of it. I think he would be so much fun to interview. And again, he's just a hottie. So
I was going to say, and you'll take him out to drinks afterwards?
Oh my God, that man is just, Jesus. I noticed I didn't pick any of the biggest people because I can't meet them. I just can't. I can't. I don't want to be my heroes at all.
Yeah, honestly, that's the thing, because you could ruin a lot of memories. But
yeah,
when you mentioned everyone's favorite TV father, a matter of fact, he's still doing those commercials now.
Yeah.
I am so thrilled that they chose that man to represent fatherhood and TV. And...
Well, he had a regular role in Tuner and Hooch, which I thought was great too.
Got canceled, of course.
I know. So sad.
I would say Larry Kenney, who voiced Lion-O on Thundercats, because I think that would be great for not only the Thundercats side of things, but just 80s in general. A Power Ranger. Any Power Ranger, a Mighty Morphin.
Oh, you almost, you could have been, I could have been with that Power Ranger. You could have spoken with him. You know that story, right?
Yeah, I remember.
I could have had David Yost as a brother-in-law.
Then you would have say David. We got annoying after a while.
A member of S Club 7. Someone from Buffy, possibly. I'm not going high. Anyone but Michelle Trachtenberg. I have reasons, Michelle,
We have receipts.
Any cast member from Dawn of the Dead, Ken Foray, especially any of them. And 1978, although, like Rob said, when you meet your heroes, I kind of hear that Galen Ross, who played Fran in that movie, is a little full of herself, possibly. So... Ken Foray will go with. And Rob, Shannon Doherty.
Oh, yeah. No, Shannon would be amazing to speak with. Just at her mind. I just want to know what goes on in there. Yeah.
I got some questions.
She would be a delight.
I got questions. Of course, that would tie into Charmed as well. And what got me to start this podcast, I've said this, it was Rob's Brunch with the Hollowells podcast that is now wrapping up. again, because we came back and now we finished off Charmed, the comics, Rob's passion for Charmed, the opinion of two gay men. One at the time, it happened to be at the time with someone who didn't see the show to begin with. So that was a fantastic concept. And then just listening and listening and listening. And then I was able to be a part of one of the episodes early on before I joined in season 5. So just really, it's Brunch with the Hollowells, the show, and I got to be a part of it afterwards. So that's it. That's how it started. And of course, like, I always did love pop culture and, you know, these retro topics. And these are the conversations I was having at home with myself or David and even Rob. Like, we used to talk behind the scenes and like in messages before starting this, like, of different 90s things. So I got lucky.
That's the thing too. It's like, I would hear Ryan talk about David all the time. And so when you mentioned, David, that you were actually going to make time for this show, I'm like, this is the best idea ever, to have the two of you really just share the joy in what you both love. So I was like, I'm so glad he agreed to do this, even though he's a family man. Like, so I'm so happy that you are a part of this, because the way Ryan talks about you, it just made sense that the two of you would be doing this project together.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh my God.
So sweet. You're gonna make me get teary.
My God. So thank you, Radical Ones. Thank you, listeners. Thank you for anyone who's just joined us who said, there's a podcast? Early on, I just want to say thank you to Jeanette, who was our first really ever listener to anything. She started like episode 3 and then she was the only one who bought a t-shirt from us. Thank you, Jeanette. I know you have that t-shirt. You're going to send us a picture. So thank you so much. Thank you to everyone. Cadu, who's contributed to having people like Lindsay Price come on, and the Captain Planet writer. My God, so many people who have just made this, and of course my co-hosts. So here we go, episode 100. What brings us here truly is Legend from 1985.
Yes, kicking off the summer sorcery. So real quickly, I just remind people how you came to this particular theme. So far, it's been horror. We decided to go a different direction. What was it about this particular genre that was like, we got to do this for the summer?
So this is another person we have to bring up on our Thundercats episodes. David and I, because of the Thundercats theme of the swords and the sorcery kind of thing, it's so many like mythical things happening over the time of the episodes. We'd be like, wouldn't this be fun to do these mythical movies? Wouldn't it be fun to do this? There's unicorns in this. And then we kept bringing it up. Oh, sword and sorcery. And Leah, our wonderful, we call them bunglers over there on Thundercats. Our bungler Leah, she was so excited about this, being a huge fan. She loves Xena, she loves sword and sorcery, and being really one of our vocalist members, and sometimes only voice. We brought you your sword and sorcery summer. So Radical Ones, if you want something, if it's on our brand, if we're able to do it, we listen. Come play with us, talk to us, tell us what you want to see.
I just wanted to see men in loincloths.
And that is what we got in this movie.
As even like a 5 or 6 year old, I was like, didn't know why I liked him so much, but I did.
He was giving thighs and just squatting the whole movie. I mean, you're already a short guy. Like, you don't need to be squatting anymore. But it did me a service, so I was living for all of this.
And I still remember Grace Jones in Gonad. That was some fierce shit. I mean, Grace Jones in general, she is just like a force of nature. But I remember that. So that was some crazy stuff. She was hardcore.
Well, we're going to show strong men, but we're also showing strong women during this summer. 1985 movie, which is about a young man who must stop the Lord of Darkness from destroying daylight and marrying the woman he loves. This is the Princess Lily. Rob, David, I'm going to let you talk, but I just need to get this out. I cannot stand this woman.
Wait. Is it the woman? Wait. Is it the woman or the character?
You're right. I said the character of Lily. We get it, girl. You sing. Okay, the unicorn did not want to hear you singing.
In the bumps and the hollows, the sunlight and shadows, he kissed her as those bluebells play, as his lips met to death. At the roots of the bluebells is where he's laid.
Was she Martika?
Toys shell. No, really. She thought that she was something. That's all I got through this whole movie. This singing every minute. No.
Okay.
That was my strong opinion of this Legend movie.
I love where this is okay, so we're gonna start here. I'm so, David. I don't know where you where you stand on this. I am going to second Ryan on this.
Yes.
Lily was horrible. From an adult's perspective, she was just a terror. I think she is gorgeous. She is a beautiful woman. I love her spunk. She clearly has a zest for life. Cooped up in that castle, she just wants to branch out, date the Jungle Boy, and live life, right? I get it. But this woman just reminds me of those, like, oh, I want you to steal this for me to show you my love. I want you to... defeat the biggest man in the room to show that you care about me. It's these old, I mean, obviously this is 85, right? But it's just today, I just can't with people like that who goes to this way like, oh, you're just going to do everything I ask and expect the boy to jump. But here's the thing. He jumped. He called the bluff and she immediately regretted it. And it's just like, why are you playing games? Stop.
See how brilliant I am? Let me dazzle you with my wisdom.
It's much more than wisdom that dazzles me, Lily.
Jack, teach me rabbit.
Not today.
Why not?
Because... there's something really special that I've been promising to show you.
Jack, do you mean it?
Only if it pleases you, Lily.
Oh, it pleases me more than anything.
Always go now. Because I'll only be here for a short while.
Don't you trust me?
I trust you, Lily.
And then she was like, do you trust me? And I was like, Jack, come on now. You have responsibilities. And you ain't got time to be showcasing for some girl who can't understand rules. He hesitated. He was like, look, I gotta blindfold you because I can't give you the location. I like you, but you can't know where these unicorns are. And then she's like, do you trust me? And he's like, okay, no. I'm gonna trust you. What does she do? He said, don't touch them. And she went ahead and did it anyway. Why? Because I'm the princess. I'll do whatever the hell I want.
These are sacred animals.
I don't care.
You risk your immortal soul talking like that.
I only wanted to touch one. Where's the humming bat? It was magic. Thank you. Let me sing to you. I'll chase your fears away.
I cannot. This was all her. And I love it because Darkness was like, relish in the fact that your sin is what caused all of this. I didn't even ask for this. You did this on your own. I want you to really live this moment. You have evil in you just like I say evil has. Like, he was calling her out and all she could do was sit there and take it. And I love it. What did I write? I said... This is why I love the fact that it also like circled back towards the end because Jack had to make a very crucial moment to trust her not to kill the unicorn and take the shot. Yeah, Gump was like, kill the bitch. Like
I was with Gump.
But I totally get it, and I love that they revisited that because I think that Lily did lose some of the trust from Jack, and it gave the audience a reason like, should he, shouldn't he? Because she wasn't really the best character to represent herself.
The birth of a new world awaits your stroke.
Let my offering be made of flesh and blood.
She means to do it, Jack. She's one of them.
I am sister to the fates.
Kill her. Forget her.
Think about the unicorn.
Do it! I'll do it.
No! No. I trust you, Lily. I'll always trust you.
But, you know,
David's like, oh my god.
I have a few things.
This poor woman. This poor.
Well, no. Because I did say there's something to be said about Jack and water, because we know that happened on the Titanic too.
Yes.
Oh,
and I said,
yes.
why is she so innocent? She spread eagle on the ground with Jack on top of her.
Was she singing too?
I mean, she goes to the woman's. I know she's like friendly with this villager woman. She knocks down her clothing. She's stealing food.
That was ridiculous.
Said that too, and I was like,
sort of like the nymphs in Charmed, when they just like do it, la la la, whatever.
She did say that, you know, she did say like, you're like a daughter to me, and so I'm like, you're cool with these people, but still at the same time, like, why are you taking stuff?
But also, she acts so aloof. The whole personality. I'm sorry. I know she's supposed to be this. She's beautiful, yes, physically.
And I didn't picture, like, I don't feel that she was wholesome. I feel like Jack was very naive and sweet, and he lived his magical forest life.
Yeah.
And I think that she almost, I don't want to say she looked down at him a little bit, but she like knew that he's going to do whatever. I'm going to have him on a string, this little jungle boy. I mean, that's what I put down. Like, for him, I put Jack is like Tarzan and Peter Pan mixed together.
Yes, Tarzan-esque, yes.
And I'm glad you did say that, because I don't want this to turn into a woman hating, episode or whatever. Like, it's not just about the woman, right? And we're gay, so like there are plenty of men who act this way. And yes, it is a two-way street. Jack definitely is, a part of like what went down in this movie, and yeah, him really not understanding like the. But I mean, that's the thing. It's a big chivalry thing back in the day, with fantasy. Like, the men just goes above and beyond for the woman that they love, and I totally get that concept. But it just kept adding up. It wasn't just one incident; it just kept going, and so that kind of just stood out to me.
But did her touching the unicorn, I mean, Antichrist, dude, because I'm calling him Antichrist, and I think he is, as opposed to Satan, because he talks to his father, which I think is Satan. Do you think that her touching the unicorn really the orc? I'm calling it an orc because it's like Lord of the Rings. That these creatures are like orcs, but they're demons, I guess.
Yeah.
They're out the unicorn already. So what did she do? She because she like stopped it from running away or something? Did she really inadvertently do anything?
It's a very fair question. I totally get that. What I caught from that scene was, okay, Jack, you brought her to the location. The orcs were following you, the goblins or whatever. So you kind of led them there, and I think the goblins were following her, not Jack, right?
Oh, because she was a pure innocent one that was going to lure them in.
Exactly. So, and then I also was a little confused with, I don't know if the goblins can see the unicorns until she got said close. I thought that they were invisible until she got closer. But at the end of the day, what I thought was going on was the fact that because she went to go touch the unicorn, it wasn't necessarily the touch. It was the fact that the unicorn was steady enough for a straight shot. At the unicorn. Yes. I think if they were still running around, gallivanting or whatever, I don't know. I don't want to put all the blame on her. It's just the steady fast of just leading the goblins to them just kind of catapulted it. For some reason, I feel if she had just stayed far, they would either notice them or I don't know. So that part's a little weird to me too, on how all of that was executed to begin with.
I took it as the unicorn also tested her, because when the unicorn was doing that thing galloping around her and she was just kind of staying there, I think the unicorn was testing her, maybe her bravery or something. And then he kind of found her worthy enough per se to stay. And that was what it was. It distracted long enough for them to shoot this poison dart. But again, she chose to sing to this unicorn because that was what's going to lure this unicorn, not Jack bringing them to the spring that they play around in. And by the way, he says that unicorns only know love and laughter, which I thought was so beautiful. It's like ties back to The Last Unicorn, of course, that we did on the show. Just to really quickly touch on the ambiance, as I like to say on this show, and the visuals, right? Like Ridley Scott, I have to say, did a beautiful movie.
Yeah. Who I'm gonna give it to Rob Bottin. He is our, makeup designer. Like he did all the makeup for all these creatures. Like amazing work. So
the
good.
Tim Curry is like not only is it iconic, but the work of that makeup had to have been. I mean,
yeah, I think I read he was like 5.5 hours in the chair, and in each day he had to put that on, and like, but yeah, the makeup in this is spectacular.
So that to me is like indicative of that era. Jim Henson, everything was done with puppets, nothing was CGI, and you really had to go for it. I do have one thing about the movie that also irked me. Not really irked me, but like, was this film during like the height of the Santa Ana winds? Why is it so damn windy the whole damn time?
Oh yeah, it was and pollen was blowing, right? Continuously.
I mean, it was just wind after wind after wind.
I thought the trees were alive, like hugging them, because they were just so active and just moving all the time. But then when the unicorns was there, everything was so steady.
Still,
he's like, do you have any Flonase? I'm starting to get, my allergies are starting to act up.
Well, honestly, I didn't blame. There were so many flowers and like he brought her to lilies. She didn't want the lilies. She wanted the unicorns.
The cherry blossoms, though, I'm sorry. Beautiful. That was a moment. That was such a moment. Anytime that unicorn was in frame with those cherry blossoms was so good. I love that. Yeah, all of that. But yes, there was a lot of strong wind. The weather was some stuff in this. It like the winter.
Oh, was that I thought that was like the impending doom that was coming. Like the weather was changing from the unicorn was going to get taken. And I have a really big one for you guys. I got out of this whole movie. This is the story of Adam and Eve.
Oh, what did I write? Yes. Yeah,
and the temptation of the unicorn is like
exactly
Eve eating the apple, and then you have the devil.
I wrote the same thing, and I was also like, what kind of rule allows mortals to see unicorns that they can't touch?
Exactly.
Why would you make a rule like that? Oh, the innocents can see them, but we definitely don't want them touching them. Like, no.
And they got thrown out of the Garden of Eden because the weather changed, and like that very homosexual Gump Berry thing was like,
oh,
your immortal soul is gone, girl. You touched it.
I did take Lily to see the unicorn.
You did what? Silence!
Oh God, Gump, she touched him.
Touched it! A mortal laid hands on a unicorn! Yeah! Squawk, squawk, no more talk!
Gump, spoiler, besides Lily being the most annoying, I thought Gump was the movie for me. Gump is a nymph of some kind.
Yeah, he's a nymph.
Yeah, he looks like a child.
And he spent the whole movie having, I said, Gump hissing, having a bitch fight, scratching at everything.
You willful sprite. How dare you keep such secrets? They're mine to keep.
He was dramatic.
Una, and those unnamed creatures that jumped out, he's like, get away.
But I thought it was actually genius to give a creature like this youthful appearance, right? But give it this voice of, and it was a woman. I looked
at the bar that got too drunk and got into a cat fight. That's all I got from him.
Oh, when he did the whole meltdown, I have to say that was like the fire when he's like, "You got my riddle!" Like that was something.
What is a bell that does not ring? Yet its knell makes the angels sing. I know you. Shh. Answer me this, and all will be forgiven.
Flowers? Bluebells. To hear them ring means your life is at an end.
No! Damnation! Gathering tribes! Rabbit noodles! Putting fiddles and
I have to say, I kind of thought he looked like Frankie Muniz a little. And especially in that scene when I didn't know what the hell happened at first. It turned out that he was giving them wine, but he kind of like puts his fingers up. It almost looked like bugles, you know, the little bugle things that you put on your fingers, those crackers. But I was like, I don't want to drink.
Pretend to have fingernails.
Mm-hmm.
But he was getting his nails did. I'm telling you.
I didn't want to drink off his fingers. I'm sorry.
No, I wouldn't want to drink off of his fingers either.
But these little tiny, he pulls up these little tiny wine gloves.
A riddle without an answer is like an empty cup when you're thirsty for wine.
Well spoken. And if it's wine you want, it's wine we shall have. Brown tone! A small measure of entertainment at best.
What cup? It's the last bottle of my best wine. Oh, if you say so, sir.
Yeah, Gump was he was definitely a character. You mentioned that he was voiced by a woman, so his original voice is German. He has a German accent, and I guess because he sounded too German, they wanted to dub his voice instead. And the person who voiced it is also the same person who played Blix, our lead goblin that we see in the beginning of the movie. Her name is Alice Playten. She's uncredited for the voice, but I did read about the fact that, David Bennett's voice apparently just sounded too German for them. Blix, though, the makeup, again, so good. But why was Blix giving me Winifred Sanderson so much in this?
I could see that. I could totally see that, yeah.
It's the laugh, it's the abuse as the leader to like the two minions that she had. It's Blix says it's a female mare. Oh my god, she was a hater on women. That's what it was. She was like, oh, there's another unicorn out there. Oh, but it's female. We don't have to worry about her.
Don't worry about it. It's a woman.
She has no power. It's a chick. Whatever. But yeah, just the way she was handling the unicorn's horn, the way she was doing all the magic, I was like, you are giving me Winifred right now, and I'm living for all of it. I love it all. But Blix looked great. I love the makeup of Blix. So good.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the sass of that particular goblin, every scene with the horn, like Rob is saying, just arms out, flailing this unicorn's horn that they cut off all around. And that particular scene as well, the makeup when the corpse comes to life and grabs the lackey. I thought it sounded cute, whatever this little goblin was that you don't see. And then the corpse throws himself off the cliff with this thing. I was like, that's a great death scene.
Please! It was only a joke! I didn't mean it! No! No! Have you no sense of humor? Adios, amigo!
Wow.
The makeup, the corpse looked like literally like a mummy that came from the ground awake.
The other thing that I noticed too was our two dwarfs, like Hobbit characters, and I was like, Screwball, you're looking a little familiar.
Yeah.
And the voice was definitely like, what are you triggering? And so I looked him up. Oh my god, I was like, you're giving me Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
I need to settle this and see if I was correct. And what do you know? It's the exact same gentleman who played Gwildor.
And the voice, it's like, I mean, I guess it's his normal voice, but there was no change at all.
None.
It was like literally the same exact character. You could have just...
Well, maybe he was on vacation there in that world.
Oh, he went from Eternia to
he got up to
Legend.
Eternia. I was thinking Masters of the Universe, and then I was also giving me the Never-Ending Story. The guy, it is my scientific speciality.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So good.
Well, that's the thing. This is definitely heavenly inspired, right, by the Never-Ending Story, Dark Crystal. Yes, David, Dark Crystal, things like that. Just really quickly, I do have a question because while watching this, I did love it. I think the visuals just keep you occupied. But is there something with the pacing? Is it me, or is there something off with pacing wise? It's kind of like, could this have been done maybe a little shorter?
Interesting.
I know epics are good and you want them to stretch out as a journey, but then at some points it's kind of like this scene might go on a little too long, and then you're not even showing, let's say, Tim Curry in this form when I thought he was a bigger part of this movie, but he's not.
They could cut out some of that wind. I digress. I felt like once she was captured and once they entered that domain, I felt like sometimes it was jumbled. They were bouncing from her. Like I didn't feel like it was, I felt like it was just kind of like a little zigzag sometimes, back and forth. And then Yoko Ono, whatever her name was, watching her run through the thing. And then they were in the pie, then they were here, but it like seemed a little chaotic to me.
That might be what it was.
Like editing was a little chaotic. Can we talk about the fairy too?
Una?
Yeah.
Anyway, Una will guide the way. Follow me, Jack. Over here, come on. Come on, hurry.
I have something about Una as well, but she was so thirst. Okay. She was so thirst. Oh, so here's the thing about the pacing. I'm surprised that you thought it should be even shorter, because this movie actually went through so many script changes, and the story was a lot longer than what we got, because most fantasy adventure movies have character arcs. They have development. They have multiple
2 hours.
They have multiple battles and triumphs leading to this final boss. This movie, I noticed two things. For me, it was straight to the point. There was really no sort of expansion to the world that was given. They kept it very, very contained. It was literally, like they said, it was a movie about good versus evil. There was no complexity whatsoever. I mean, everything was straight to the point. It was good versus evil. They pointed it out. And I love the fact how Jack was like, we need to find somebody purest heart, somebody who has, the courage to, and everybody's like, girl, you are going to be the chosen one. Who else is going to do it? Who else is around? You're the one that loves it. It was just funny.
Who squats like that?
Right. But I guess he was the only one who, needed that little extra ego boost but like, it was clear as day. You're the hero. Here's the villain. Let's go at it. But yeah, the movie was supposed to be longer. And in my head, I thought the movie was supposed to be longer because I expected those epic adventures and the traveling and getting from one destination to another, like I see in all these other fantasy movies, and we didn't get that. I think the director really wanted to isolate this thing and just go straight there and not worry about all of those big theatrical moments. And because usually in a fantasy movie, the lay of the land is usually its own character.
Yeah,
like there's always something going on, whether it's like quicksand or trees throwing apples at people. Like there's always going to be something that where the land is its own. But I was very, very surprised, and I will agree with you on this. Tim Curry's darkness should have been in this a whole lot more. I can't believe we waited an entire hour to really get the big thing, and we only got him for that last half hour.
Judge me not so harshly, mistress. I invite you to share this supper. Look how sweet it is.
Then he gets killed.
Well, he didn't die. Remember, darkness never dies.
That's true.
He was banished, because, big old daddy saved him. He was like, I'm getting my daddy's lawyers. They are coming for your ass. I'm going to get bailed out of jail immediately. I'm not even worried about it. He went out to play.
Coming for you, Lily. Coming for you.
I said, hey, daddy, when you're going to stop playing? I can tell you got big horn energy.
Well, he does ram that horn into Jack into the wall.
Why was he so enamored with her other than she was pure? Because I don't think that she was pure.
That's what I'm saying.
She's the only girl that visits the forest. They don't know of anyone else that lives out there. You name me one other woman who's brave enough to go into the woods.
That witch, I guess. That was the only one.
Honestly, evil loves corrupting the purists. They just love it. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. He probably doesn't give two shits about her, but it's the fact, like, if I can get you to be evil, like, I know I've done my job right. Like,
But like, were you saying, is she so? Because to me, someone innocent wouldn't have pulled that trick. Okay, Jack told me not to touch the unicorns. I'm so blessed by.
Well, that's the other thing too. And I get reminded of this all the time, and this is why I don't have kids. So, David, you tell me if I'm wrong or not. But innocence doesn't necessarily mean perfection or good mannered. Honestly, just the imagination and just so much full of life and curiosity. That's where their innocence comes in. And so I think just through her trial and error is how her innocence is, because she just has so much wonder. It's the fact that she doesn't let rules define her. She wants to touch the unicorn because she just finds them fascinating. So that's how I would categorize innocence. You tell me if I'm wrong.
No, I agree with you. It's about intent. When a child does something they're not supposed to do and they break something, their intent was never to break it. They just want to feel it. And children are very, for example, are very touch and visual. You know, they want to do that. So, but me and you, Ryan, I'm like, girl, like if you're supposed to be this innocent child, you ain't supposed to be doing all this bad shit. Like I'm with you. I understand where I make my mistakes, but at the same time, I'm like you. I'm like, this kid's supposed to be good if you're innocent, you know?
She literally danced to the dark side.
Oh, I love this.
I love that scene so much. Okay.
Oh my God. It actually, as a kid, it spooked me out a little bit, and it still spooks me right now.
Because it's this seduction.
Scary and seductive.
That could have been any representation of darkness to pull her in, and I just love the fact that it was just this blank canvas of temptation that she took the form of. And she was like, I'm only going 80%. You are going to do the last 20. You know the rules of kissing. Give them 80. Make sure they come in for the last 20%. I was like, I'm just going to, glide, give you, just what it's like, but you're going to have to finish it up. And I just love their intertwine where it was just like, bam. And then she becomes this blank canvas. And I thought that was such a very poetic, beautiful touch. And it's very reminiscent of Labyrinth when she was tempted with dancing, and The Better Life too. Love that scene. Love that scene. It's something I would never notice as a kid. And she was giving me cape. She was giving me so much cape. I love that cowl. Oh my God, I would wear that in a heartbeat. That cowl was everything. It was just so high and it was so straight. It didn't drape or anything. It was so cool. Loved it.
I think it was amazing. Like I said, the dancer scared me for whatever reason when I was a kid, and still had something. I said she transformed from like this sweet Renaissance fair girl looking thing to this really like dark gothic Alice in Wonderland costume. That's what I felt like from it.
But did you notice he gave her that jewelry too, as well?
She's definitely tempted by shiny things. Shiny things. We got to talk.
But it's funny though. She gave into the seduction, but she was still able to retain this whole like, I can't mess with you.
Defiant to him, just like a child would be.
Is that what it is? Because I'm like, yes, I like being evil, and me giving into my dark side also says that I am nobody's, trophy or slave or whatever.
Like when she said to him, oh, just sit here, and she goes, I will never do anything to please you.
She's like, yeah, I'll just stand. And he was like, silence. I was like, oh, he loved it. Because he was like, okay, you are annoying me right now. But it's like, okay, let me keep my cool. I just lost it for a second.
Don't make me raise hands on this beer.
All I wish is for you to sit and talk with me.
Sit. Here.
Yes. Please.
I prefer to stand.
Silence! Or stand. As you wish. It is enough that we are alone together. Just the two of us. Some simple conversation.
I have nothing to talk about. You've stolen my dreams away.
All things change, lady. The dreams of youth are the regrets of maturity. Dreams are my speciality. Through dreams, I influence mankind. My dream is of eternity with you. I offer you this rose, princess. My heart, my soul, my love.
Love?
Man, she looked for any reason to just go against what he was saying. Oh, so good.
She was so horrified when she came to. That scream she kind of did. She was just like, nah. Like, just made everything even worse for me.
No, but David, what was your thing about Una? I got it.
Oh, God, I got two more things, and then you can say whatever you want. Una. Now, she's a horny fairy, and she wants some of Jack's D. And why do I, every time I look at her, I think of Robin. I'm in the corner.
She did look like Robin. Oh.
I'm giving it my all. But I'm not the girl you're taking home.
I'm Una. Nobody knows but you. It's our secret, Jack. Don't tell Gum. Promise? Promise! I could be anything you want me to be. Even your heart's desire. You've got to help us, Jack. The fairy's love makes anything possible.
She was some horny. I don't get it. And then the hissing. Why didn't you tell me you could turn into a larger thing? The hissy fit from the other queen. So that's what I wrote about her. She just wanted that D so bad that she was going to transform into his heart's desire. Now you tell me.
Oh my goodness. I love that they have time for all of this too. It's like the world is about to end and you guys want to be playing these games. But
right?
Here's the thing though. It really makes me very curious. I doubt that anybody's ever thought of this, but I always have to analyze everything. You wonder what a fairy's life is like, because if you think of any other fairy, Tinkerbell had the same thing. She was all up for Peter. He would never give it up. And she was just totally jealous of any woman around him. It's like they are deprived of any kind of full happiness when it comes to love. Like their main goal is just to be servant to whoever their sort of like charge is. I don't know what it is,
like
but
they're not taken seriously too. Like it's just like you're just a fairy.
What is the fairy's name from Zelda? Like
Navi, yeah, Navi.
Navi. I feel Navi is the same way. Like in the animated cartoon, like there's just always something about fairies.
Yeah, she was after Link.
Yeah,
to get with him in the cartoon. Yeah, that's so.
They are always like their sole purpose is to never fulfill their own dreams. It's to somebody else's.
Could Tinkerbell get large? Could she go like Una turned into like at least a somewhat sized person? He could.
That name, I love Una.
I mean, and the other thing is he's. I'm gonna go back to when the devil, his father, is telling Tim Curry the
darkness. Yeah, darkness.
I'm gonna say the Antichrist. He's like, woo her. Seduce her, and I'm like, buy her a Louis Vuitton bag with a matching wallet. No Kylie Jenner cosmetics. But what was she seduced by? I'm sorry. He's like, we're gonna be married, and I'm thinking, do you want what kind of thing that man is packing? Like, does he just want her for company to talk to her? Because look, let's just talk. Let's sit down and have a nice conversation.
I mean, I this could be another conversation, but I think it also comes down to either how fairy tales were depicting women in those times, or even Scott's and the writer's point of view on what it is that women want and how easy it is for them to just do whatever we want as long as we give them the money.
Superficial, though. It's very superficial.
It is very superficial.
When you change yourself into an attractive man that's her size, that doesn't have horns, and seduce her that way, turn yourself into Jack 2.0. Like, I mean, like, I could have all this. Oh, look. Oh, don't worry, honey. We'll paint the walls white in that room for you so it doesn't look so dark. What? I mean, really?
I'm sorry, though, but, like, if I did have to choose, like, Zaddy all day, like, Tim Curry was
I gotta be honest with you, I felt the same way. There was something sexy about him.
He was that look. It's the smirk, it's the accent, it's the smile.
I think it's the voice, right? Yeah.
He was so confident in his game. It was insane. But honestly, it was the stature. It was like his poetic way of speaking. Like, but there was just moments where he would just cackle, and I'm just like, take everything. I don't care. I just was like,
I'm gonna say he was definitely sexy.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. I would have transformed it myself into something that she could kind of grasp, so to speak. Because think about it. Okay, so he's going to end, like, let's say they have the last unicorn and they kill it. I think I'd want to be the bride of Satan than to be out in the frozen forest getting killed by orcs or whatever.
We're in the hood. You want to wear that triangle cowl, like
I'd be like, Illuminati, yes, whatever you say.
Terrible. You're terrible. You're both seduced by darkness.
The way he charged at Jack, didn't even flinch on any arrows hitting him.
Sorry, Tim Curry's voice alone is very sexy. He could have gotten
man, the way that I expected him. There was one part, I don't know if you guys noticed this, there was one part where he's kind of like leaned in on the table and he was like, so, what's a girl like you doing in a place? Like, it just seemed like he was trying to have this casual, like, so what's up, girl? Like,
that's Tim Curry to me. See, like that, I could be like, oh, it's Tim Curry, and he wants to talk like gossip with me at the table with his long fingernails. That's what I think I would be seduced by, the Tim Curry charm. But I wouldn't want to be all in that, no.
Yeah, there was a little bit of like Rocky Horror in that performance.
Rocky Horror, yes.
Some of that Frankenfurter was coming out, and I just think he did so good in this movie. But I mean, he did look great. He really did.
Did you get Wishmaster? I got Wishmaster too.
Maybe the teeth you're thinking of, the mouth.
Even the horns, like the way the head is formed. Well, yeah, it's like a Wishmaster thing, but early Silent Hill Pyramid Head, because there is a creature in this that looks to me like a pyramid head from Silent Hill.
Yeah.
Could it have been? And then the other thing was, there was 3... Did you see this, Rob? The 3 alternate endings to this movie?
I did, which was also something about your thing about the pacing, because this movie definitely could have gone a different direction. David, did you hear about this?
No, I didn't.
The European version ends with Jack and Lily running off into the sunset, okay, with Darkness's final appearance. In the American theatrical version, Jack and Lily assure each other of their love and watch the unicorns reunite, and then they run off into the sun together, hailed by the forest fairies and the unicorns. Darkness watches from the void, laughing. And then in the director's cut, Lily wakes up Jack, trying to convince her that she was merely dreaming, but she ultimately is unconvinced. They confess their true love to each other, but realize they live in 2 different lifestyles. Oh, lifestyles.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't even worlds, this is lifestyles.
Yeah.
She's like, you cannot supply me with my... Which causes Lily to request continuing their platonic relationship. Jack, happy with this request for the first time, accepts.
And goes out with Una, because she's a sure thing.
Una? Lily returns to her home to assume her responsibilities, promising to visit him again. Jack happily runs off into the sunset, hailed by the forest fairies and the revived unicorns. Okay.
I actually like the original director's cut ending. There's so many things that I could pick from this particular ending, and it's also just having an understanding that they want different things in life. We don't really get to know Jack's story, but I feel that he, like, the forest calls to him. And I think just him being out, not necessarily doing all these adventures, but just being very carefree is the life that he should have now. And to be, you know, turned into this like debonair like prince and have to do all of that royalty, like I just don't see that for him. And I also think, like, we can assume they were all happily ever after going into the sunset, but it's like, you got to deal with the parents, you got to deal with bills, you got to deal with...
We never saw her
I would like, I just say Satan. Your ass was frozen. I had to do all the legwork. You better do something else. Yeah, I got the unicorn horn.
No, I think this was very a test, like what it would be like if our worlds collided and if we, you know, got together. Like, do we have the same path? Do we have the same, you know, things that we strive for in life and all of that stuff. And this is a testament to like, we don't belong in the same world. And I think for the greater good of the forest and the world and not bringing darkness back, maybe we should just leave the temptation out of it for a couple more years.
How about just put an Uptown Girl from Billy Joel and call it a day? They'll be fine.
Well, as long as she's not singing and touching unicorns.
Where is the ending? Where is the ending where she stays with the devil for the money?
Right?
Or Jack joins them in a throuple because, you know, he's got nothing better to do and the frost is frozen already.
Speaking of Jack, what would you have thought of either Johnny Depp, Jim Carrey, and Robert Downey Jr. in the role of Jack? Also, Richard O'Brien, speaking of Rocky Horror Picture Show, was to play Meg Mucklebones.
Oh my God, we haven't even talked about the brilliance of Meg. Meg was the scariest thing man, so cool. But to answer your question, if I had to pick one alternative, it would be Johnny Depp. I am totally cool with Downey Jr., but I've seen him when he's younger. It's not working for me. I think he's glowed up so much. Let's keep him there. And just also everything that I know now about these actors, I feel they made the best choice.
Honestly, Jim Carrey, I never in a million years.
He could do it, though. I think that he could
seriously?
do it. I would have preferred him as Gump, but that's, again, based on what I know of him now. But I honestly think him being that young, I think that he is a versatile actor who could have pulled off an action movie such as this.
But do you remember him in, like, Once Bitten?
Exactly.
Would you be okay with that being the heroine of the story?
Again, it's the versatility. I feel that he has
character-wise, yes. I think Tom Cruise just gave face and the long hair. And that's really what it is. I mean, Jim Carrey can do... That's just what's so interesting about comics. They can go to the darkest, most evil places. And
yes, they can. Exactly.
Like, even with, like, Monique in Precious. Like, you would have never thought, watching her comedy, that she could pull that off. Because that was, like, a scary...
You could never imagine Mariah going there. And she went there.
And without makeup, too.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and she had a mustache. How... Like, she really allowed herself to go there.
Yeah.
The budget was $24.5 million, but the box office was $23.5 million. So they just almost recovered, but didn't make any more. So, I mean, it's a cult classic now, but honestly, this isn't one of those movies that are like, when you think of, maybe we do of our generation, but this is not a movie that's...
I think this is one of those movies that's an unspoken gem to everyone. Regardless of the reception, people know what this movie is. They know Tim Curry's Darkness. It gets mocked on like Family Guy and all these other things. They get parodied, right? You know, this will always be known as Tom Cruise's like first ever film, you know, playing the lead. And, you know, I look at me as Sara. I'm sorry, I don't think of anything else but this princess. It's just unspoken. I think there's just this underground love where we all have that one friend where we don't have to see for 20 years and then we get together and it's like we live next door. I think that's what Legend is. Like, to be a cult classic, I don't know if you need to be spoken about all the time, but I will say, though, that this movie should be spoken about more because this, to me, is one of the most authentic fantasy films that I've ever seen. That isn't, like, flushed with Hollywood attached to it, you know, big stars. Like, this movie accomplished so much with so many unknowns, and just the music alone would have turned this movie into something different. If it wasn't for the music, I think the music is so important in this film.
Beautiful.
It's so beautiful. Yeah. And then just the set pieces and that amazing, amazing makeup. You know, I feel bad for some of these artists who had to work on them because some of these things you couldn't see because of how dark it was, but that was the whole...
True. Actually, that's a great point.
To make it as authentic as possible, like, you had to really, like... I'm so impressed with how much detail was put into this film versus the rest of, like, all the fantasy stuff that we've seen. And so I give this movie so much praise, but you're right. I wish that people would talk about this more and just be on everybody's mind. It's just the other ones are just fun. They're more for kids. They're not as scary. And this one is just heavy. It's just very heavy.
Yeah, this is not a child, I don't think would, like, David originally was thinking, like, he hadn't remembered, like, a lot of it, you know, because it's been forever, and he's like, should I watch this with my kids? But then he ultimately decided not to, so I was glad, too, because when we got to darkness and that whole thing, I was like, oh my God, the kids would have been freaked out by this.
Just the beginning with like the neon green eyes of like dark, like all of that was enough. I mean, obviously that looked like, you know, like they put a black light with some nails, but just that alone was enough for me. Like I was in it. And I love the idea of the theme about like everyone has evil inside them. It reminded me so much of Vampire in Brooklyn when Eddie gave that speech as the preacher. He was like, evil is good. That's kind of what this theme is. Like you have to have evil if you want this much good.
Yes, and that's that whole thing that always comes up. You can't have light without dark.
Yeah.
The yin and the yang.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, even in essence, you have to have shadow with light. There's no way around that.
I mean, David, do you have any final thoughts too?
No, I actually think it's really cool, and I think Rob said it best. It's like a friend that you've maybe lost touch with, but as soon as you get back together, it's like nothing ever changed. I think it's a great movie, and I think it is definitely off the beaten path when it comes to the way, you know, the characters, and like it's a little bit of everything, but not quite, because there's definitely some, I don't know, it's not, I wouldn't even say that it's whimsical, because I feel like that would be putting it down. It's something I can't put my finger on.
It's unique, honestly.
It's different. It's got that darkness. It has that almost heaviness. Like, you know, we talked about The Last Unicorn, that kind of heaviness. So it's very realistic. There is that power struggle, good versus evil, and making decisions. And I do believe very wholeheartedly about that Adam and Eve sort of concept.
Yeah.
Which, coming from a religious background when we were kids, definitely like wow, this is another concept of how it is and how it could be, and
temptation. Yeah. For 100th episode, I think a movie like Legend really does showcase this show, right? Like, again, we'll bring up Rob's analogy about the friend thing. We do movies and shows on this show that are not quote-unquote mainstream a lot of times, right? But then you get a movie like this, and it's familiar, and it's a little different, and I think it's very radical that we would have done something like this. Yes, it's kicking off our summer and everything's like that, but I like that we're able to hopefully call attention to maybe forgotten movies, like even just when we went through the movies in the beginning, even Blank Man, like there's movies that we did and I'm just like, well, you don't really hear about these movies, and I wish people would talk about them more. So I would say the 100th episodes, I hope in the upcoming 100 that we of course hit main things that people want to hear, but continue to highlight forgotten and maybe underrated movies.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Ryan. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I'm on this podcast, is because you've chosen to go in this direction that not necessarily is the same as everybody else, because we could have just been one of those podcasts, right? But you see sort of the same vision as me, is touching on these underground movies that not one people are ashamed of liking, but it, you know, again, you know my motto, it's all about that guilty pleasure thing. Like, I don't want people to be embarrassed or ashamed to like a movie like this, or, you know, blank, or, you know, just stuff like that. So I think if there's a voice out there to really just kind of showcase some of those movies that as a kid you really liked but didn't want to admit, like, we'll do it for you, and hopefully you enjoy remembering that you also liked it too. And if you thought about it, it was actually a good feeling. So I like that you are cool with touching on these films that may not be as popular to grab listeners, but you're still voicing your taste. And that's why I'm on here. If we went in a different direction, I would have been like, I could be on any podcast and do that. I'm on here because we're doing something different. So I appreciate that. And I hope to continue that route in our next 100.
David, I know you feel the same way about these movies, these forgotten gems, and these movies that we've done over the last 100 and beyond.
I'll leave on the last note for me to say is just kind of in the same what you both just talked about and said. The people that I talk to that are friends or acquaintances or people that, that know about the podcast that say these people really like either discovering the movies that we're talking about or actually really, really love them. And that's the funny part. Like you say, we use the term cults film and things like that, but there are people that are like, oh my God, or like you were even talking earlier, Family Matters. That shaped so many people's lives as kids, including ours. And it's like people definitely can relate. And even some of these offbeat movies, there are people that are like, oh my God, I haven't seen that movie and I remember watching it every single day on a VHS tape until it wore out when I was a kid. So to me, we're reaching people, and that to me is something that, again, is important. And I agree with Rob as far as maybe they're not the most mainstream, but we also do mainstream movies. So it's love. Yeah. It's all love.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. So thank you so much for everyone we have connected with over the last few years, the last 100 episodes. Thank you for listening, sending in your questions, your comments, keeping this show active because you're there. I mean, we see your numbers, whoever you are. And if you're listening to this and you have yet to reach out to us, please do. We will be so enthusiastic. You have no idea.
We have food and supplies.
Yeah. Go to our terminus, Arcania, whatever that.
The alternative, what's the cure? The cure is now.
Yeah. If we have to do that, as always, I always say, where can the lovely people find you, Rob?
Currently, I am full-time here on Radical Retro Rewind. We are working on expanding the podcast into different things, keeping it wholesome, but then also just grabbing onto other genres that we haven't touched yet. So that is being worked on and hopefully will come out before the year's end. But otherwise, you can see my movie watching journey on Instagram under Rob the Movie Geek, as I'm reviewing every single film that I watch, whether it's a rewatch or first watch, all of 2023. Should I go beyond that? We will see. But yeah, watch or look out for that on Instagram, Rob the Movie Geek, or you can look up The Unique Geek. I think it comes up on both, and that's what I'm doing these days.
The link will be, of course, in the description box below. You can always reach David at Universal Appeal 2020, one word, on Instagram.
You can also meet me walking my children, going to the elementary school.
Well, I mean, I would love that if someone came up to you and like, are you the brother? And the Radical Retro Rewind podcast, one word, on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, everywhere. Happy 100. We'll see you next week as we kick off the summer of sword and sorcery. Goodbye.
Bye.